welcome to SVG-TV's news for Wednesday, June 28th, 2023. I'm Triska Campbell with the details. A flash flood watch, which has been in effect for St. Vincent and the Grenadines over the past 24 hours, has been discontinued. In its 24-hour weather outlook, the SVG Meteorological Services says pockets of light to moderate showers, periods of light rain and thunderstorm activity is expected to persist across SVG. However, conditions could improve from Thursday afternoon until around midday Saturday, when another tropical wave is expected to affect our islands. On NBC Radio's face-to-face program today, Prime Minister Dr. Afghan Salves said with significant rainfalls already recorded and more expected, he is appealing to persons in vulnerable areas prone to flooding and landslides on our rivers and streams to be very careful.
You may not see the rain, for instance, at Pasha in South Rivers, but you don't know that up in the mountain the rains are falling heavily. And there are persons who live in close proximity to the river, down in Pasha, for example. Do you have river training which has been done, and do you have river defense? You still have to be very careful. I mean, there are stones and so forth which have been packed, and some work has been done there since the last flooding. But you have to still be on the lookout, because you don't know the full extent of the pressure which is coming from the water, which may breach those defenses. You understand what I mean, Carnival?
Yes, Prime Minister.
So we all have to be very careful. Remember this too, that this is the 28th day of the hurricane season. Started on June the 1st. And we have several months still to go. So during this period, we have to be on our guard. We have to be very careful. We have to be prudent. We have to make sure we have our plan inside of your family. Your family plan. NEMO has done a lot of educational work on this, and the family plan will involve. And I'm talking about family planning now with birth control. That's a different thing. I'm talking about a family plan, the family plan for a natural disaster. Yeah? So you have to prepare. That means you have to make sure you have, you listen carefully to the official information. Don't pay attention to gossip. Go to the information sources. Listen to the radio for the official voices, to my voice, to the public servants who are responsible, to NEMO, to the meteorologists, and you can go online and see the information, hear it.
On the preliminary damage assessment from Tropical Storm Brett, which affected largely the northeastern communities, mainly Connery, Sandy Bay, and Oya, the Prime Minister said the received report from the National Emergency Management Organization (NEMO) yesterday afternoon said it should have been circulated today for attention. On the storm's impact to the agriculture sector carried out in the affected areas by the Extension Advisory Services Division of the Ministry. He said that the report pointed out that the bulk of the damage was to the windward side of plantains, and on the leeward side mainly to tomatoes and sweet peppers.
If we do a total assessment, for plantains, you had 17 acres or so were assessed, and the damage is about, for the plant, about 66%, but about $92,000 in damage. We'll call it 100,000. Bananas, 6.5 acres assessed, 73% damage, about $33,000 in damage. Then you had a few acres in pigeon peas, so half were damaged, about $45,000 there. Tomatoes, about 3.5 acres, about 85% damage. And sweet peppers, 1.25 acres, But 80% is damage, so that's about $29,000. The total amount come up to close to $250,000. Now, it may not seem like a lot of money in loss there, but if you're an individual farmer and you lose 66% of your plantings, it's a big blow. You see what I mean?
Yes, Prime Minister. That's true.
You know, you have some tomatoes and you lose 85% of them. It's a big blow. So the individual farmers would have suffered, and we have to. They haven't given me the names of the individual farmers, but Ministry of Agriculture will have them, and we have to. Saboto is at the moment in Guyana at a food security and agriculture meeting, of which he's a co-chair because it's a CELAC meeting.
In terms of housing, the Prime Minister said the assessments immediately after the all-clear was given on Friday, June 24th, was carried out by the Ministry of Transport and Works and NEMO, with a social assessment carried out the following day on Saturday, June 25th, by the Ministry of National Mobilization and Social Development.
NEMO has received 113 reports of damages to structures thus far, housing structures. The Ministry of Transport and Works assessed 61 such structures, and National Mobilization has conducted 48 assessments thus far. These are just preliminary because we have to continue to do the assessments. You know what I mean, Colville?
Yes, Prime Minister.
But you have to start somewhere. But I'm told this is the bulk of what is to be assessed. Now, of the 61 houses assessed by Ministry of Transport, Works and Physical Planning, 36 were level 1. Level 1, that's the lowest level. 14 were level 2. But 4 was level 3, and 6 were level 4. Level 4 is the worst, so those have to be replaced. And level 3, you require substantial repairs. Maybe they themselves would probably have to be replaced. So if you talk about, if you're replacing 10 houses, you're talking about an average. If you replace a house, it's about $150,000, and with the infrastructure and everything. But if it's 10 of them, you're looking at $1.5 million. And then you have to have money for repairs for the others. So total cost, this, as simple as this may seem, well, I call 60 there. There's a bill which would come close to $2 million.
Yes, adds up quickly.
It adds up. One of the reports was a false report. I don't know the basis of the falsity.
Okay.
But level 3 and level 4 require urgent assistance.
The Prime Minister said most of the persons who remained in the shelters can return to their homes if the repair work is carried out urgently.
We have some problems, small problems, and I just want to ask my brothers and sisters in OWIA. Some friends of these individuals are coming to stay, and they're creating some problems. We don't need to create problems of an interpersonal kind more than what we have already. And I have the names of the 15 persons and the ages who are in the shelters. There's 6 adult males and 6 adult females. That's 12. And then we have 3 children under the age of 18. The Ministry of Social, the social assessment done by the Ministry of National Mobilization and Social Development, they did that in 48 households. And the greatest need identified from the data which they gave me is the housing repairs, where 83% of the households assessed identify repairs of their homes to be the greatest need. And I have a summary of all of that. 48 households comprise 147 persons. But then when you disaggregate the number of persons, the situation for those persons, 6 of them are disabled, 3 are elderly, and 59 are children. You know, I'm giving all this data because, Colville, when these storms come and you're comfortable in Kingston or in Lee, or wherever didn't get the blow now,
right,
you kind of shrug your shoulder. But think about 147 persons who are affected here in these 48 households. Thus far assessed, and there'd be more. 9 of these 48 households thus far are from North Windward, and more would be assessed in North Windward. 25 in North Central Windward, that's my constituency. Remember, a lot of them in Connery got affected now.
Yes.
12 households in North Leeward that were assessed, and 2 in Central Leeward.
As the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force continues to raise awareness in sexual abuse against children in the country, parents are being encouraged to keep their children safe, especially during the Carnival season. In an interview with SVG-TV News, Sergeant of Police Sharon Phillips said around the Carnival season, parents would often leave their children unattended and alone at home, which could put them at risk.
As you know, we have seen a rise in sexual activities, sexual reports that are coming to the police. And on that note, I also want to encourage parents who love party, who love to go carnival and leave the children at home. I just want to encourage them to make sure that when they're leaving home, that they can at least inform the neighbor and always leave the children in the care of an adult. And always, if they take the children to Kingstown, please, they can put their telephone numbers in there. If they have a bag, if the child have a bag, just in case the child, they lose the child, and at least somebody can call them and they got the child.
Meanwhile, with a trend of child pornography going viral on social media platforms in the country, Sergeant of Police and Head of the Cyber Crimes Unit, Sion Choi, warns of the consequences of sharing these videos on social media. Sergeant Choi further added that the police have already arrested and charged several perpetrators in these incidents, in these indecent acts against children.
Well, presently, there's cases under investigation. Persons are being arrested for child pornography as we speak. Okay. That's already there. And the Cybercrime Act of 2016 have the child pornography legislation there. That anyone under the age of 18 that had in their possession child pornography or share it, it's an offense. So person who have it on their phone or sharing it to other person, it's an offense. So we advise person not to do that. Desist. If someone send you a child pornography without your knowledge, delete it. Don't share it all because it's an offense. And you can be prosecuted. So as I say, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So if you're found in possession of child pornography, you will be charged. And the Cybercrime Act gives us that power.
Sergeant Choi said that in crime prevention, there are 3 factors to consider: desire, ability, and opportunity.
And that's why we are here, to give person the following tips that the opportunity will not arise, especially during this carnival season. We advise person to travel in groups, stick with family and friends. If you're attending carnival activities, these can deter criminals. Be aware of your surroundings. Stay alert. Take notice of any suspicious person or activities. Avoid walking in isolated areas. Keep your valuable safe. This carnival season, we know person want to walk with jewelry, large amount of cash. So leave any unnecessary valuables at home. We advise you, phones and wallets, try put them in a secure pockets. We advise person to walk with them in your front pockets during this carnival season. Especially if you go into the ATM, make sure you count your money inside. Don't walk around with large amount of cash if unnecessary. Because this is why we are here today, And even on the day of the exhibition, the whistle stop, as Sergeant Phillips said, and the showcase on the 30th. A lot of entities and in-house parties and which give you tips of how to solve crime this carnival season.
Meanwhile, on the Police on the Beat program yesterday, panelists Sergeant Sharon John Phillips and Assistant Superintendent Ellen Richards provided some safety measures that homeowners should take into consideration to keep their property safe during the carnival season.
You have to install burglars, cameras, alarm. Always report any suspicious activity. I am in a neighborhood watch group, and one of the things we do is that if somebody, because it's just one way out, one way in, one way out, the same way out. So if somebody suspicious were to be walking through that community, the first person down there would alert somebody in the middle and upward, and then everybody would be on alert and keep communicating as to this person's movement, describing him and so forth, and where he goes. Parents ought to teach their children how to answer or how you answer knocks on your door, because some people go out and leave their children at home. If somebody is knocking your door, you need to ask, who is it? If it's somebody you don't know, well, don't open your door. You ought to be speaking to that person from where they are, or if you have a burglar bar, through a window or something like that, where that person cannot have, easy access. And this thing about hiding a key under your mat is a no-no. Yes. Because the criminals now, they go around, they search for that because they want easy access.
I wonder if people still do that.
I believe so. I believe so. Yeah. And one of the nice things when you have CCTV footage is that even though somebody break in your house and you have it hooked up, else when your phone run to cloud and so forth, that could come in to help you handy in terms of going to the court and proving, that this thing happened, this person did it, and so forth. So,
Sergeant John Phillips, who is attached to the Criminal Investigations Department of the RSVG Police Force, said it is important that the police and community establish a good relationship, which will also help with crime prevention.
Well, it pays to have a good relationship with the police, between police and community members, because most of the time we cannot walk alone. Yes. We do depend on the public. In terms of gathering information, we still depends on the public. If somebody sees something or they hear something, we depend on that to help in solving our crimes. However, a good relationship with the public will take us a very long way. Respect. There are lots of police who have respect for the public. The public do have respect for police. Sometimes things do happen, and it's happened based on the occasion sometimes. And we are still encouraging the public to work hand in hand with us as police officers, because St. Vincent is our home and we have a blessed place, and in helping us solving the crime, we need to have the police with us.
Yes,
And members of the public have been advised to take the necessary precautions in regard to their health during the carnival season. On NBC Radio's face-to-face program yesterday, Chief Health Promotions Officer Shanika John said there are infectious diseases which can be transmitted easily and persons need to be on their guard.
Indicate that we do have some cases of influenza B, I think, which is where persons were referring to this really bad cold that was going around. And one of the things that we have to learn about these infectious diseases is that their mode of transmission is pretty much the same. So it means that people are not washing their hands, people are not keeping their distance, and people are not cleaning their surfaces. I mean, a lot of persons were complaining about this bad flu, including some of my family members. But I'm grateful and thankful to God that I did not experience it. Because once I heard that this was in the air and a lot of persons were sick and really bad as well, I started to make sure I beef up on all of my precautionary measures, which goes.
In regards to the widely spread influenza B that has been affecting many persons recently, the Chief Health Promotions Officer John said this is as a result of poor hand hygiene practices.
Once you take the precautionary measures, your chance is significantly reduced. So I want persons to be mindful of that, especially going into the season. For the 12 days, that there are a lot of people who may be sick, whether it's COVID-19, whether it's tuberculosis, whether it's influenza B, whatever it may be, there are a lot of people who may be sick, and you need to take precautionary measures to protect yourself, because you really don't know when it might hit you in a different light. And I mean, I'm really not trying to find out, Johnny. We are very much going into a very festive social season. I know there are a lot of persons who love their carnival, and even for those persons who don't love carnival, they also have social activities. So a number of the churches are having gatherings, they're having camps, whatever it may be. People are gathering in spaces, in tight spaces. So you also have to be mindful of that. So whether you are a lover of carnival or you have plans for this festive season, otherwise you need to take all the precautionary measures, and just be mindful that there are some infectious diseases that are pretty transmissible from person to person, and you need to do the basics. So wash your hands, ensure that you have hand sanitizers available in the event that you don't have access to water right away. You want to make sure that people who are sick, especially once they're showing symptoms, so they're coughing, they're sneezing, they're blowing their nose, they're sniffling, you know, they're rubbing their eyes, these people need to be monitored closely, and they also need to isolate. Isolate means that they just need to be away from the crowd for a little time until they catch themselves. If they're older, pregnant, if they're children, then you need to monitor them closely so that they don't get dehydrated and that their symptoms don't double. In such a short time that could be very detrimental to their overall health.
The World Pediatric Project, WPP, has closed out its 2022-2023 fiscal year by hosting a dual mission here in SVG between June 17th and 23rd. The two mission teams were the WPP Neurosurgery and WPP Craniofacial. They held clinics on Sunday, June 18th, 2023 at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. Both teams conducted surgeries throughout the week on children from St. Vincent and from the region, with countries including Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Kitts, and Antigua. The WPP says for neurosurgery, a total of 35 children were assessed and 3 successful surgeries were completed. For the craniofacial team, assessed a total of 32 children and completed 9 successful surgeries. The neurosurgery team was led by pediatric neurosurgeon Dr. Gary Tai and craniofacial led by pediatric plastic and craniofacial surgeon Dr. Jennifer Rhodes. According to the WPP, while on the ground, 2 urgent and critical life-threatening adult neurosurgery cases caught the attention of the pediatric neurosurgeon Dr. Gary Tai and his team, and presented the opportunity to make a significant impact in their lives despite not being pediatric cases. The WPP says both surgeries were successful, and 1 patient went from not being able to speak or have full mobility to recovering those functions. The Mustique Charitable Foundation has been thanked for sponsoring the neurosurgery mission trip, and the Maria Hola Memorial Trust for sponsoring the craniofacial mission trip. The WPP also expressed gratitude to the donors for their continuous support and to the teams for their dedication each year towards the life-changing impact they offer to children and their families. Welcome to Carnival Beat. Revelers are expected to have a fantastic Friday night with over 20 Calypsonians taking the stage in the semifinals of the National Calypso competition this Friday, June 30th. At a news conference hosted by the Carnival Development Corporation yesterday, President of the National Calypsonian Association, Earl Cabo Bennett, took the opportunity to invite members of the public to join the party, which officially kicks Vincy Mass 2023.
But I want to appeal to you. You have heard about the innovations, Mr. Dennis spoke about them, is that Calypso is on the rise. Calypso is there to entertain and to educate. And I promise you, the 22nd, the 30th with 22 Calypsonians, it will be an epic experience. Come out in your numbers. Don't come to the Market Square. Come to Victoria Park. And yes, come out in your underwear. We expect to see great things. Those of you who have been to the tent, those of you who have seen the tent being streamed, you see that gentleman there, Orande Bomani Charles. And we all know he's a songboarder. But he teamed up with a veteran named Kendall Wizzy Wiseman. And they blew everyone away with their performances. They will be the guest artists on Friday the 30th. Let's put things in perspective. I often say we're not only the hottest carnival in the Caribbean, we're also the safest and we're also the most, and I'm going to say, affordable. The most affordable is a giveaway price. $20, 27 performances. Anybody could do mass tell you that.
Bennett said this year the Calypso semi-finals will feature its own family circle.
Its own family circle. And that family circle will feature a father and his two children. I speak of Gosnell G.C. Cupid, his daughter Chanel Mackenzie, and the up-and-coming star Omani Cupid, who, to use Hans' phrase, broke down the tent. Broke out time, he was really a broke-out artist. And he did extremely well. He had encore after encore after encore. But had to start somewhere. And when did it all start before it became the Fantastic Friday? It started in the tents. And this year, as the CEO stated, the tents did justice this year. Everything was on the rise. The songs, there was an increase in patronage, and Calypso is better for it.
With a large number of youth taking part in Calypso tents this year, Bennett said he's optimistic about the future of Calypso.
What me is the number of young persons who are involved in Calypso at this time. You had a 9-year-old Divine. I don't know, but I name like Divine and a subject of the sky. She has to go places. She sang with Upstage. You had Omani singing with Upstage. There are some other youngsters singing in the other tents. And it all goes well for Calypso because you have to replenish. So while the others will make their way one day, I don't know when they'll make their way out, because nothing lasts forever. We are confident that the youngsters are ready to take up the mantle. And that's important for Calypso. Why would I say Calypso? Because I will often say I have to be consistent. I always say that Calypso is all embracing. Calypso has 3 sons or daughters. You want to call them sons or daughters, you pick it and call it what you want to call it. But Calypso has Calypso, Raga Soca, which I often proudly say. Every time I say Raga Soca, I take pride in saying it's our own creation. And it's something we have to nurture. It's something we have to look after.
This year we'll see less performances in the Vinlek Junior Panorama competition scheduled for Sunday, July 2nd at Victoria Park. Addressing the CDC news conference yesterday, President of the YOLO PAN movement, Rodney Small, said some of the equipment for the PAN sites were destroyed during the eruption period of La Soufrière volcano.
Our visiting players, arrangers and tuners to the best place on earth, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. On Sunday, July 2nd, we will host our annual Vinlek Junior Panorama competition right here in Victoria Park, commencing at 2 p.m. The Vinlek Junior Panorama Family Circle is the ultimate family event for Vintimas 2023, featuring 6 junior steel orchestras from both the school and community-based orchestras. Unfortunately, we've normally seen about 14 bands in the junior competition. But this year we are only seeing 6 simply because during the volcanic eruption, a lot of our schools were used as shelters. And unfortunately, some of our very own people obviously destroyed some of our instruments. Nevertheless, as the president and the executive of the European movement, we're going to rectify this issue going into 2024. But on Sunday, I can assure you that it's going to be a very high energy, intense competition within our junior players and bands.
Listing the bands that would be competing in the Junior Panorama 2023, Small also used the opportunity to invite everyone to come out and enjoy pan music at its best by the youngsters.
All our visiting players, arrangers and tuners to the best place on earth, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. On Sunday, July 2nd, we will host our annual VINLEC Junior Panorama competition right here in Victoria Park, commencing at 2 p.m. The VINLEC Junior Panorama Family Circle is the ultimate family event for Vintimas 2023, featuring 6 junior steel orchestras from both the school and community-based orchestras. Unfortunately, we've normally seen about 14 bands in the junior competition, but this year we are only seeing 6 simply because during the volcanic eruption, a lot of our schools were used as shelters. And unfortunately, some of our very own people obviously destroyed some of our instruments.
Soca artist Shatta Da Silva, known by stage name Shatta, has been making waves in the local music industry, particularly the Soca arena. Shatta, who hails from Lomond Hill, has already claimed 3 rural Soca Monarch titles, including South Leeward, Georgetown, and Beckway, with his hit song Long Fussy Tone, which has already gained over 95,000 views on YouTube. The 21-year-old artist, who has his eyes set on winning this year's National Soca Monarch competition, in an interview with SVG-TV News, Shatta spoke about his music expectation for Soca Monarch and what lies ahead.
I never really used to do music. I used to like sing in church. I grew up in a Christian background. But this is my first year singing. First year. Everybody saying the fourth crowd, so they don't know we're going on. So everybody have to come up with a game, you don't know. You watch and take it over this year. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good question. I could change. Like the way how DJs just be biased and playing songs, like one specific song, like where Kai have whole catalog of different songs. They can just change up the thing now, let other people get a little chance now and to play different music. Because after a while they hear one song over and over, you're just going to get fed up and you're boring up the carnival now, man. So play the music. Let's get to the position. Take out like long division. Now he's spread your like Chango. I look my ruler for barrel, girl.
Well, you heard it here first from Shatta himself. And
well, my plan is to go out there, abroad, international. Not Vinci alone, international, for sure, for sure, for sure. Yeah, cause it don't get a little zest outside now. People start to like it and gravitate towards it, but yeah.